Hello everybody, and welcome to a quick video tutorial on how I set up the Sonic Mania level editor. Now this uses a lot of fan-made tools. It's going to be a little rough around the edges, but they're also being constantly updated and improved. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments or on Twitter. You can also go to the Sonic Mania Discord, the link's in the description. Now first of all, make sure you have the most up-to-date version of Sonic Mania. Next, let's start by downloading Mania Mod Studio. We can find this on Sonic Fan Games HQ. Once again, links in the YouTube description. We can scroll down here, click the big download button. Now once we have the zip file downloaded, maniamodstudio.zip, we want to go to our Sonic Mania folder on our computer. Now if you don't know where Sonic Mania is installed on your PC, I am using the Steam version, so I can go to my Steam library, right click Properties, which is going to open this window, and then go over to the Local Files tab, Browse Local Files, and that's going to bring up this folder right away. Once we're on our Sonic Mania folder, let's put in the maniamodstudio.zip. Let's make a new folder called Mania Mod Studio, put it in there, and unzip it. Extract it into Mania Mod Studio. What is Mania Mod Studio? Well, it's a suite for all sorts of tools we're going to be using in the future. But first of all, we need to tell it where Sonic Mania is. Let's click on File, Set Mania Path. In my case, it already found it. If not, you'll have to navigate to your Sonic Mania folder, select the sonicmania.exe, and press Open. Now Mania Mod Studio knows where our Sonic Mania file is. Next, let's go to the Tools tab. There's a lot here we can ignore for now. In the top left is a button called RSDK5 Extractor. Click on that. Once again, it's in the Sonic Mania folder. We want to be in the Sonic Mania folder and select this data.rsdk. Press Open. Now it's asking us for another folder. What we're doing is we're extracting all of the files from data.rsdk into our own folder. And you'll see what that is about in a second. But what we want to do first is to go back to our Sonic Mania folder, wherever that is. Mine is under Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Sonic Mania. Simply select this one and press OK. What this is going to do is it's going to take a little while, extracting all of the files from the game, all of the music, all of the sound effects, all of the graphics, even the video cutscenes, and most importantly, the level layout files. It's going to extract all of these into the data folder in Sonic Mania. Now, as you can see, there's all of the music, there's the Act Clear music, for instance, there's all sorts of sound effects, there's all sorts of sprites, which are the graphics in the game, and I'll just open up one at random. So with this, we could already go in here, edit one of these files or replace them, and the game is going to use our replaced version of that file. As long as we keep the file name exactly the same, no matter what, Sonic Mania is going to use the harpoon.wave, for example, whenever there's a harpoon sound effect in the game. Now because of that, the next thing we're going to do is a bit interesting. We're going to rename the data.rsdk file. Why? essentially we want Sonic Mania to use the files from our data folder instead of all of the official original ones from this big data.rsdk. So all we need to do is rename it to something, say data original. Because Sonic Mania is looking for exact file names, it won't find data.rsdk anymore, and that forces it to load the data folder instead to get all of its data. And that's what we want. Now we can go in and change anything we like, and it's forced to use our changed files instead of the official ones. Now, with that set up, let's download the level editor. The level editor is on GitHub, Otherworld Bob Maniac editor. Most current version is 0.2215. There might be a newer one. It shouldn't be a problem. So simply download that by clicking on this, Maniac editor beta.zip. Once you have the file downloaded, let's go back to our Sonic Mania folder. Go in here. We could put this anywhere we like, but I like having it under Mania Mod Studio, Tools, New Folder, Maniac Editor, and I'm going to extract it in here. Now we have the level editor for Sonic Mania. Let's open it up right away. Once again, a little bit of setup. Click on Open, and it also wants to know where our data folder is. So let's tell it. Let's navigate to Sonic Mania and select our data folder. It might not start you off in this folder right away, so you might have to go to your drive, program files, Steam, Steam Apps, Commons, Sonic Mania, wherever it is. Select the data folder that we have extracted using Mania Mod Manager. Now it gives us this window instead. This lets us select a level. As you can see, all of the levels in the game are in here. As Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Oil Ocean. We could open any one of them now. So let's pick Studiopolis Zone 1, for example. As you can see, it loads fine. We can hold middle mouse button and move our mouse around to scroll, to pan like this. There are other ways of moving around in this view, such as the scroll bars on the right and bottom of the screen. We can also zoom with these icons in the top left, or we can hold Control and use our mouse wheel to zoom in and out. This gives us a nice overview of the level, or a nice detail view of one specific part. So now, how do we start editing? Well, first of all, what are these buttons up here? Well, FG Low, FG High, and Entities. This stands for Foreground Low, Foreground High, and Entities. If we click on them, you can show or hide each of these layers. For now, let's keep Entities hidden and work with only these tiles. But before we make any changes, let's do this. Let's go to Save File, Save As. And what we have here is the Studiopolis Zone 1 folder in our data folder. Now, like I keep saying, Sonic Mania is going to look for the exact file name to load. scene1.bin. This is the level that it's going to load. Let's make a quick backup of it by copying it and pasting it in here and calling it, for example, Scene1 Original. I already made one the previous time I recorded this. Yeah, this is the second time. So now this is going to be the original level file in case we need to go back. right? In case we made a big mistake or in case we want to look up what the level looked like. This is simply a nice safety net to have. But scene 1 bin is the one the game's going to load, and it's the one we're going to edit. So let's start editing. By clicking on one of these red buttons up here, we can select which layer we're on. We can go to foreground low, foreground high, or the entities layer. Now what are these different layers, you might ask? Well, Sonic Mania works by having 2 different kinds of layers for its tiles, and this is important for loops, for example, because it determines what's solid at the time. Essentially, we could be moving along here. Everything is nice and solid. And then foreground high has some nice and solid ones as well. But if we start rolling down here and up here along this loop, this is going to be solid. We move up and up and up and left. And then it's going to switch our layer. It switches the player's layer to foreground low. We continue moving along here, along here, along here. And then through this. This pillar that used to be solid just now when we traveled up it is now not solid anymore, so we can go right through. And that's how loops work in Sonic Mania. Similarly, we go down here and up, but this bit is not solid. We travel right through. But then when we are up here and go down, it's solid and we travel on top of it. Now this isn't too important for us right now. Let's stick to foreground low and let's left click and drag a box over this entire starting building. And then let's press delete on our keyboard to delete all of these tiles. Now if you've made a mistake, you can go to the top left and find the undo buttons. Undo and redo. Now what you can also do is you can select all of these tiles and go to edit, delete. Fair enough. So let's clean up this starting area. Let's make it our own. Let's make some changes so that as soon as we load up the level we can see it's ours. And to do that we deleted this entire building. But what about this floating platform in the background? Well, we go to foreground high because this happens to be in a different layer. Let's drag another box over all of these tiles, and then by left clicking and holding the left mouse button we can drag these tiles around. We can move this anywhere we like, but for now let's put it on the ground right here so it's no longer out of reach for the player. We still have this floating bollard, so let's also move it down onto the roof of this. There's more we can do though. How about we select this bollard and duplicate it? You could go to edit duplicate, or you can also see its shortcut right here. So by holding Ctrl and pressing D, you can duplicate tiles and move them around wherever you like. You can also select tiles and copy them by pressing Ctrl C and then paste them into the level with Ctrl V. So let's put another bollard right in the middle here. Now this one is one tile short, but we can easily fix that simply by selecting part of it and only duplicating the middle. That makes it look a little bit nicer, a little bit more centered. Very nice, very nice. But what about the entities? What about rings and springs and all that? Well, that's exactly what entities are. As you can see, if we scroll down a bit, on the entities layer are all of these interactable objects. There's rings, there's bumpers, there's going to be all sorts of enemies, there's springs. So that's what the entities layer is all about. Since we deleted the original building's tiles, but not the entities, there's a lot of stuff floating in the air. So let's take care of that. Let's select all of these entities and just delete them. We won't need them for now. Now that we've deleted everything, how do we populate this space with objects again? Well, that's simple. And the simplest way, of course, just like with tiles, is to find some that are in the level, select them, and duplicate them. Then we can drag them back to wherever we're working in right now. We can copy and paste this ring, for example, to make a nice line of 4 rings. Don't worry about being precise for now. That's going to come later. But we can simply select these rings and copy and paste them all over the place. To prove this is really our level, let's take these rings and make a letter out of them, for example. We could put a nice little C right here, just to make it obvious that what we're doing is working. Now remember to save often. In the top left there's an icon, save, or you can press the shortcut Control S. Hold Control and press S to save your level. But how do we test it? How do we actually test our level? Well, Mania Mod Studio has in its Manager tab a Run Sonic Mania button in the bottom right. We can use that to launch Sonic Mania. We don't need to. We can launch Sonic Mania normally via Steam as well. Let's just click that. This is going to launch Sonic Mania. Now you may notice several things. Now if we run Sonic Mania in windowed mode, it's going to say Sonic Mania data folder. And this confirms what I said earlier. It's the game telling us that it's using files from a custom data folder instead of the official packed data.rsdk file. But then what I did is I pressed escape. Pressing escape while in data folder mode opens the developer menu. That's right. The dev menu is what the developers used for testing, and now we can do it too. This is very handy for us, because you may have asked yourself, how do we get to Studiopolis Zone 1? Well, simply go here, stage select, Mania mode, and all of the levels that we can load in a level editor are also right here. We go to Studiopolis Zone 1 and load it up. Now, as you can see, all of our changes worked. The tiles are different, our rings are all there, but there's a little problem with these flashy tiles down here. Maybe we didn't want these flashy tiles to... Maybe we didn't want to let Sonic to walk through them. How do we change that? Well, let's go back to the layer these tiles are on and select them all. Now we could delete them, but that's not what this is about. We want them to stay, but be solid. In the bottom right of our editor screen are these two checkboxes, solid top and solid all excluding top. Now normally you'd either want them unchecked so that Sonic can walk through them freely, or you check both of them so that they're completely solid and nothing can travel through them. There is a little exception, which is that you can have only solid top selected. This lets you make a platform you can go through from below and land on top. This is used in the game often. But for now, let's make it completely solid. Save. Now how do we test this? Do we need to close Sonic Mania? We don't. We don't need to do it. All we need, while Sonic Mania is still running, is to press Escape to get back to our dev menu and select Restart. As you can see, now the tiles are solid. Pressing Restart in the developer menu forces the game to reload the entire level, meaning we can quickly make changes and test them without needing to relaunch the game every single time, and that's very handy. Now there's a couple more things in the editor here. For instance, what's with all these scrambled tiles over here? Well, if you remember when we made our bollard, these are made out of tiny 8x8 pixel tiles. Each one of them can be moved, duplicated and copied, what have you. And on the right is a list of all of these tiles. If you wanted to make a loop or a new bollard completely out of tiles like this, you can. This is generally only useful for detail work. So let's not worry about that too much yet. But while I'm at it, what you can also do is you can select a tile and in the bottom right, click on Flip Horizontal. That way, the tile you move in is going to be flipped horizontally. You can also flip them vertically. So if you have some very specific detail work to do, this is where you can find all of the level tiles. This can be useful. So for instance, let's take these tiles over here. Let's go to the foreground low layer and make a little platform you can roll through from below and stand on top of. These tiles look pretty good. So let's take them. Dragging each one out would take a while. So I'm going to duplicate this, then duplicate these, and duplicate a bigger part each time. Now I want these platforms to be solid from the top, but not solid from below. Now there's something missing on the right here. It doesn't look quite right. So let's see if we can find some tiles we can copy in to cover up that bit there. This looks quite nice. I Control C to copy them, Control V to paste it in, and I put them over here. Make sure these are solid. Sometimes tiles like this can be background tiles you can't reach, but in this case it works because they're solid. I'm not happy about this, so let's make sure it lines up and save. Now, if we load the game, we should be able to roll up here and land on top of this platform because it's solid from the top. But we can roll through from below because it's only solid on the top. And there we go. This really, armed with all of this knowledge, you can really already make big parts of levels. Simply by taking tiles and copying them, deleting them, maybe flipping them, you can make huge layouts. But what you may notice is that the entities are not always as simple as the rings. So let's see, for example, what these bumpers are about. If we click on them, there's going to be all sorts of properties displayed in the top right. the name, the slot number, which we don't care about at the moment, but we have the position right here, and these are X and Y coordinates. So we could change these right here if we needed to. This is good for precise work. If we want things to snap to the grid, for instance, and not have them off by a couple pixels each, we could snap these to a nice grid if we wanted to. I, for one, wouldn't worry about it too much at the moment. What about some of the other properties? Well, there's hit count, type, amplitude, speed. What do all of these mean? Well, that can require a little bit of trial and error. This is why copying and pasting entities is usually a good idea. If you know what the original level is about, you can simply go to an object that acts the way you want and copy it in. There are things like springs, for instance, and the properties are going to tell us, is the spring facing to the left or to the right? Is it diagonal? Is it a weak yellow spring? Is it a powerful red spring? If we know what it is, we can simply go there and copy it in. If we don't know, we'll have to do a little bit of trial and error with these variables. And I think someone's working on a bigger list of all of these properties. But yeah, at the time of upload, this is not quite finished yet. That said, it's not a problem. You can make big parts of levels just by using what we have right now. So let's save this, and there you go. If you have any more questions, you can go to the Sonic Mania Discord. You can ask me on Twitter, or you could ask in the YouTube comments. But for now, don't worry about any of these entity specifics. Don't worry about these super detailed tiles or the background ones. You can have lots of fun simply by clearing some of the bits of the levels out and replacing them with your own. You can place your own rings, you can place your own enemies. What more do you really need? Good luck and have fun.